Oh, hey, everybody. It's episode 2 of the Claire Bear Podcast. Should I put the applause in? Let me see if I can do it. That is so fun. Hey, friends and foes. Sorry, that was a little abrupt. I'm still learning how to use these mixers. Is that what it's called? A little mixer? The doodad buttons. But let me tell you something. Let me just say hello, friends, foes, pimps, and hoes. I am happy to be here again for another episode. I can't promise very many episodes. You know, I feel like I'm always just like one disaster away from completely crumbling. And yet that time never comes. I just live to see another disaster. Again, is it of my own doing and my own choices? Yes. Is it from the universe? Also, yes. I don't think it's persistence or resilience. I just kind of think it's my lot in life. And we're here to celebrate it on this little corner of the internet. So I can't really promise you too many more episodes, but I'm going to keep on trucking for as long as I can. And think about it right now, here at this moment. If you have a little extra funding, just Venmo me. Right now, we're doing digital donation sponsorships. You could just give me $20 and I'll say whatever you want me to say. I mean, it has to be $20 worth of content. I'm not going to read your whole life story and a whole manifesto, but if you give me like a one-liner, yes, ma'am, let's get this podcast popping. And I know I shouldn't put it out there that I'm like, oh, I'm just one podcast episode away from fizzling out, but we all know me. Baby, I'm a firework. Okay, sorry. I told you I wouldn't sing, and here I am singing. Gonna try and stay committed to that commitment to you and your ears. But you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Is that how it goes? Yeah, you don't have to be great to start, right? So I still don't have the YouTube. I'm still using this canned music and the applause, which, by the way, highly recommend getting an applause sound effect in your daily life. Take out the trash, applause. Start a podcast, applause. Episode 2, applause. It just adds a little layer of motivation. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, let me change the dialogue a little bit. Let's think positive thoughts. This is going to go to episode 9,000 because hopefully I'll be alive, not live in disasters. You're going to send me some money. I'm going to shout out your business. Everyone's going to make money. The world's going to be a better place. Yay for everyone. That is what I'm hoping here, even though I'm secretly in the back being like, I think I might be one crash out from really crashing out. But I never do. And maybe that's the sick joke of it all, is I live to see another crash out. You know, we are going to start from the beginning because that's the best place to start. And that's my beginning. But to get to my beginning, we got to back it up a little bit. And over the holidays, when I probably should have been recording my podcast, I was talking to my cousin as we were decluttering our houses. And oddly enough, we have a lot of the same clutter, like full-blown nail stations and paraffin wax buckets. Should we own those? No. Are they taking space up in our tiny little houses? Yes. Did we get rid of all of it? Also no. But we did make some good progress. And in that process, we were discussing things and we were researching our family lineage. Should we have been researching health insurance options and side gigs? Absolutely. Were we? No. We wanted to say, what got us here? What is the generational trauma curse that caused us to have full-blown nail stations, even though we live so far apart? She's in San Francisco, I'm here in Houston, and we are worlds apart, yet kind of the same. So we'll start with my dad's side, just because that's the side I know the most about. And that's the side that my cousin and I are on, and we did a deep dive into that side. And so what we discovered is our great Nana, so my Nana's mom, my dad's mom's mom, her name is Marguerite. She was one of 7 or 9, last name Freytag. They came over from Germany, and her birth date is different by like 4 years. And sometimes she's the oldest kid, and sometimes she's the second oldest kid, I believe. Whenever I was deep diving and looking into this, I could go reach out to my family. To be honest, they would all have different memories of this. And when my dad was alive, what I've learned is he would take a story, just your basic run-of-the-mill story, your everyday piece of material, and he would just dress that up, really embellish it with part lies, part truth, and we don't know which is which, or at least I didn't. And because I didn't live it, I just kind of went on whatever my dad said. So we got Marguerite. She's bebopping on over to the U.S., San Francisco, from Germany, I believe, with her siblings, and she becomes an artist. I think she went back over to Europe to study art. And she's a famous artist. Like she has oil paintings and whatnot in galleries on the coast. And I have a painting that she did of my grandmother, which looks like my son. So like fourth generation, if you can kind of follow along. If not, pause, rewind, add in those listenerships. Okay, sorry, singing. Trying not to sing. I'll do better. So great Nana Marguerite is doing her thing. She's an artist. She's fabulous. She's feeling herself. She is just the thing. Do I know that's the case? Absolutely not. I don't. But in my mind and the way I'm writing the story in my brain and broadcasting it out to you, I believe she was kind of an it girl, kind of funky fresh, doing her own thing. She ends up meeting a Standard Oil guy. So he worked in oil. I think he was like in finance or something. I don't know. And then they have my Nana. And then Nana has my dad. Nana marries a man with the last name O'Malley. That's where I got it. Hey. And she has my dad and my aunt, Michael and Darren. Those are real names. Just to throw that out there. I don't think my family is listening because like they lived through this, so they're not trying to be like, what is my niece doing, weirdo? So Nana and her husband, which I'm not going to shout out because I really don't have any connection. My dad's dad passes away when my dad's 6. So then Nana moves, I think, with her parents or gets a roommate. Again, I'm not sure. This is all just folklore at this point. What I've gathered on the internet, what my dad has told me, is any of it true? I have no clue. This is what I kind of think happened. I'm piecing it together with you. So now Nana is single. It's like 1960. And she's got Michael and Darren, my dad and my aunt, and she's making it work, right? She ends up marrying another guy who I know as Papa, and then they have another daughter. And obviously, Nana is a boss. She was holding it down, doing the darn thing, and I think she had a lot of help from her parents because my dad has all of these memories of visiting his Nana, and she would be on the patio painting and have a little grape juice and vodka and then give him a little grape juice and I think a little vodka, if I'm being honest. And he was like vibing. He loved it. And what's so cool is that same patio that he remembers, my Nana ended up moving into her parents' house. And so I got to see and live and be a part of that little patio that my dad reminisced watching his grandmother paint on. Okay, so my dad, he lost his dad when he was 6. My aunt was 3. I think everyone has told me like he didn't do great after he lost his dad at such a young age, but what do you have to compare it to? He went to Catholic school growing up. My Nana was a school teacher, so she was big on education, and that was really important. But I know that he really connected with his grandmother, and he really liked her and was very connected with her. And funny side story, when my cousin and I were going down the rabbit hole of the family lore, we saw this newspaper clipping that my great Nana's dad had put in some paper that was like, Marguerite is doing great. She's suffering numerous inconveniences and could use money. And I'm paraphrasing a bit, but kind of that reminded me of like a 1918 Facebook status. And I don't know if that's the real year, but it was around that time, early 1900s. And I just laughed because that's something that somebody would say, our own dads would say about me and my cousin. And my dad, I don't think was the easiest kid either. I remember there were some stories about, I think he had an accordion lesson or something. Who has accordion lessons? And again, this is hearsay. It's all alleged. It's what's been passed down. Is it correct? I have no idea. And I think he like threw it out the window or hid it or something because he wanted to play guitar. And then I think they stole a cow from a supermarket and put it on someone's roof. All of these stories were very funny, but I can't remember them and tell them to you. So my dad's just doing his thing. He is being difficult. I think there were a couple motorcycle accidents. He says that he worked as like, those orderlies in hospitals. I don't even know if that's a correct term, but he would wheel hospital beds around. And I think there were some adventures with that. He was just kind of a little wild hair, but that might be the O'Malley in us if I'm being completely honest. So he ends up going to Catholic school, and then he went to this school, Bellarmine, and that's in the Bay Area, San Jose, I think it's in. And supposedly he graduated early. I don't know if there's truth to that because he also is a July birthday, so that's just how the cookie could have crumbled. I'm not really clear on all of that information. So he graduates early and he ends up going to Northern Arizona University. I don't know why. I don't know how, but that's where he ended up. I think he wanted to ski and maybe, garden, if you get my drift. It was the 70s. So let's put a pin on Michael. He's at college. We're going to leave it there. Now off to my mom. My mom was adopted. She was born in Chicago. And I'm thinking we'll tell her birth story because she ends up meeting her birth mom, but way later down the line. And it kind of involves some of the story. But she was adopted. She always knew she was adopted. And her parents are from Chicago. My grandfather went to Northwestern. And I think that's where he met my mom's mom. But my mom's mom ends up dying when she's 21. Now, my mom, and they kind of bebopped around the Bay Area a bit. And so every time we go back to visit family, we have to drive by her childhood home, which is in Palo Alto, which is literally a shoebox and probably worth like $4 million now. My grandfather did something with cattle and meat packing. Again, I think. I don't know. That's really hard to confirm or deny any of this. So they ended up in Fresno, and she went to Roosevelt High School. And I don't think she was like a popular girl. There's some story about being a letter girl. I'll have to ask her. I really don't know. And then she like bashed the letter girls, but she was a letter girl. I think the letter girls just held like the school sign that said Roosevelt. I'm not clear on any of this. I think she was kind of like middle of the road. And my mom, if you know her, she's so sweet. Yes, she's memorable. She will laugh at your jokes, but she's not an initiator, let's say. She wasn't the leader of the pack. She also wasn't a follower either. She's just my mom. So she also goes to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff. And I don't know if she really was into gardening, but I know that she liked to ski. And so I think it was just kind of a nice nature vibe in that Flagstaff, Arizona. So now we're both in Arizona. Oh, and she has a brother. She has an older brother, also adopted, same agency. And now her claim to fame is that they were adopted the same agency that Bob Hope adopted his kids, which is kind of a fun, weird fact because she always would tell it to people. But it was also weird. Like, I could be Bob Hope's granddaughter, but I'm not. I'm my grandfather, which I do love my grandfather. I don't know. He's probably better than Bob Hope. I really don't know. But she did like that claim to fame, that little tidbit. Like, it could have been her that was chosen. But I do think she was really close with her mom and dad. And so it all worked out. It always does with all of that. So mom and dad meet at college. They're skiing, doing a little gardening, if you know what I mean. They get a dog. The dog is an Irish setter golden retriever mix. And my dad had named it Claire. Claire then gets hit by a truck or a car. I'm not sure, but that's where the name Claire comes from, I believe. Could this be a lie? Yes. Is this what I was told? Also, yes. And I can post the picture of like my mom and dad and their friends, and they have like a bottle of a Chianti, and someone has a joint in the middle of their toes, and they're sitting like on some truck, and Claire is in the picture. Or it was Claire's brother dog that went to my dad's best friend. So his childhood best friend joined him at college. That guy's name's Duffy. Remember that? Because he might make some reappearances in this whole journey. So they're doing the college thing. They meet in college. They're having the time of their life. Skiing, just being their hippie selves, loving life. But then my mom's mom gets sick, and my mom's 21, so this had to have been her senior year. And so she took a semester off because her mom ends up passing away, and that was really sad. And, she doesn't really talk about it a whole lot, so I'm just, again, regurgitating what I know. How many more times can I explain that to you so I don't get in trouble by my family? And then I don't know what my dad was thinking, but my mom tells a story, and my dad loved a shock value. I don't know why he did this to his mom, but he always loved just really getting in there at the most inopportune times and shocking people. And so he decides that he's going to join the Army. And then he decides he's going to tell people that he's joining the Army and leaving the next day after Thanksgiving. And I think that happened either his senior year of college, but he did not return. So my parents, I think they wrote letters back and forth. My mom ends up going back to school. She finishes, earns her degree. I think she ends up going back to San Francisco area, and they're writing letters. These two people are the most passive people. I do not know how they fell in love, got married, and had children together because they are so low key. Like, do you have those friends that are like, hey, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? That is how I think their relationship went. And I'm not sure. Though they loved music and had a good time. So this gets a little fuzzy. I'm kind of explaining this whole thing like a dream because I really don't know what happened. But he's at Thanksgiving. My mom's there. Nana's trying to have a nice Thanksgiving with the whole crew. And my dad's like, well, by the way, I'm leaving for the Army tomorrow. And so he left the next day. They write letters back and forth. He ends up coming back. I'm going to fast forward through this part because I kind of don't know the details. They end up getting married. They get married on a beach in the Bay Area. I think it was Pismo Beach, maybe. Am I saying that right? And my mom had each bridesmaid wear a different color pastel. And then my dad's youngest sister, his half sister, she wore like a tiered flower girl dress, and they had those big hats. And then I still have, I think, or it's in my childhood closet, her wedding dress, which she said she got for like $30, which is kind of expensive in 1979, maybe. I think that's when they got married. And I think my dad's done with his Army duty at this point. So they gather their belongings and they decide to move to Colorado because he met a guy in the military that said, hey, come live in Pueblo, Colorado. And at that time, there was no research. So nobody knew much about Pueblo. They just knew it was in Colorado. California's beautiful. Colorado's beautiful. Let's just go to Colorado. There can't be bad places in Colorado, right? Right? We'll leave it up to my parents to test that theory. So they hop in the car, they move out to Colorado. Turns out Mark maybe was stretching the truth a little. There was no job. So my dad becomes a fireman. My mom's doing social work. And they start to kind of like build their little hippie community. They also have this side job as photographers, and they would take pictures of homes for sale and they would go into like a magazine. This was before the internet and Zillow. So if you think of Zillow as a magazine, that's what they would do. They would take photos of like the exterior, the interior, and then put a little blurb in this. It was called Homes Illustrated. So remember the part where my dad thinks he's Ansel Adams, the photographer, because that's going to come back into play. So they're married. They got a house. They're a fireman. They're doing their civil duties and their occupations. They've got this side gig, being photographers. They're just jamming out, right? And lo and behold, they have me. And so again, we can call my mom. In fact, let's call her right now and see if she can tell us about the day. I obviously don't remember it. Okay, and I'm just going to like dial her on my phone and hold it up to the microphone because I ain't trying to learn this technicalities just right yet. I'm still just on the second episode, so bear with me. But
Hello?
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
What are you doing?
We just kind of laying around. We went to Denver for the weekend, so just got back.
Nice. Well, I just called you. I'm recording my podcast. So.
Oh, no.
I'm talking about the day I was born. Can you tell us about it?
It was a joyous day. Are you really? Is this live?
Well, it can't be live, Mom. I'm recording it, but I don't know how to Zoom you in. And I just couldn't schedule it with you. And then you get all nervous. Just tell me some fun facts about it.
It was, I'm glad the doctor made it. It was nerve-wracking. That's all.
And then was I like the best kid?
Not necessarily.
When did you discover that I was like, because you had Tara right away, so I couldn't have been like a deal breaker, baby.
No. So, you should have been an only child.
I know, I think that too.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that you really recounted history with me.
It was many years ago,
45 to be exact. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, well, is that your only memory?
Of that day.
I mean, leading up to it and like after, do you have anything that I could put on the podcast?
I'd have to give it all some thought.
Okay, maybe I'll just schedule you for another episode.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to go back to recording now.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Love you. Well, I think we can safely say that I don't know that my mom's going to be a recurring guest. I already imitated her to her the other day, and I was like, and I think to my sister too, I was like, if I have my sister on the podcast, she's going to be like, hey. I'll be like, hey, Tara, you're on the podcast. And she'll be like, okay. And I'll be like, hey, how's it going? It's good. We have hockey. That is what it would be like to interview my family members. And so I don't know how these people had me bust into the world, ready to yap it up, have a stage show full of drama, but they did. And they're all not super big talkers, but maybe when you grow up in a house with a Claire Bear, You don't get to talk a lot, so you just get used to it. But I knew my mom would be like, I don't know. It was one of you kids. It was a good day. It was a long time ago. But Mama was the first guest on the podcast. And I told you we would have friends and family on. Isn't this fun? And experts and whatnot. So if you want to be on the podcast, again, just DM me maybe. Do not email me. Remember, we went over this last time. You're going to have to send me a Harry Potter owl or a message in a bottle because I'm really not into emailing right now. Like, comment, follow, like it to know it, follow, DM, comment, all of the things. I really need to get that down if I think I'm going to be like a podcaster, but it's difficult, okay? So I bust into the world. As you can tell, it was a very exciting time for my mom. Do you think she even remembers it? I don't know. And clearly a moment that shall never be forgotten, a very memorable moment of my arrival. And by memorable, all my mom can say is, I'm glad the doctor arrived. And this is the part of the story where we're going to get bare, right? I told you we're going to go on adventures and we're just going to kick it off with this one because I can't think of a different story to kick off my arrival. And I actually don't have a choice, okay? So remember that part where I said, put a pin in the fact that my parents thought they were photographers. My dad had a Nikon F1, which I have today, and I still use it. I need to get some film developed, but it's kind of special. And it's special for this reason. So, I'm just doing my thing, arriving into the world, and my mom puts together a baby book. And there's a couple pictures, my hospital bracelet, my weight, height, and then there's a series of photos. Because my dad took that Nikon F1 right into that hospital room and pointed it not at my mom's face, no, at my face while I was coming into the world. And so I have about 3, insert the 5x7s or 4x6 into this baby book photos, like a pretty hefty section of my mom's anatomy and me arriving into the world. Ricky Lake couldn't even compare to what I've seen in my baby book. You guys, I want to know everything about this. Now that I'm an adult and I've had my own kid, what was my dad thinking? That's not birth photography. I don't know what that is. That's medical photography. Now, he did want to be in the medical field, so maybe he was exercising that muscle, but what in the world? Then they take the film somewhere to get developed because this is in the day before you could have sneaky links and private digital photos on your phone. No. He had to take this somewhere and get it developed. They saw that. Someone in a developing area store saw those photos. And my parents said, you know what? Not only are we going to take them to the store and get them printed, let's put them into these photo sleeves and have them forever and ever. I still have that baby book. I think I did put a paper clip because no child wants to see that before they even know what that is. Okay? But that's how I made my debut into the world, and it is well documented. I can't put it anywhere except into that baby book because I think there's some rules that you can't put that on the internet. I think, and if it is on the internet, it's probably in the Epstein files, if I'm not mistaken, okay? I don't think my parents were clowning around with rich people. In fact, I know that because of how I grew up. So it's just probably in that baby book. And if somebody made a copy at whatever, probably Printer RX, Pueblo Print Society. I don't even know where you took your photos to get printed. I don't know if Walgreens was a thing back then. I literally do not know. Was it a 5 and dime? Am I now thinking that my parents rode horses? My kid thinks that I went to a Laura Ingalls Wilder school, in a one room using charcoal as a pencil. I have no idea. And I do know that my mom says I should have been an only child. I don't know if she's saying that for me, per se, or because I probably should have. I kind of act like a diva. And obviously you know that because I'm starting a podcast. But yeah, they had my sister. I don't know if that was an insult or a compliment. I really don't know. And I'm not going to digest it and unpack it right now because I'm just on episode 2. We've got a big journey to unpack, okay? So I'm going to just leave that for what it was. You know what I mean? I'm just going to let that lie. I'm not going to unpack that right now because we have a big journey ahead of us with a lot of twists and turns. And this is just the beginning. I think I would have been a great only child. So my Nana was an only child. My son is an only child. And what's crazy is, again, my great Nana painted a picture of my Nana and I look just like my father and I look just like my Nana. And then my child the picture could have been any one of our baby photos, but it's really special. My aunts say that the eyes are kind of creepy, but I am obsessed with it. It's like very near and dear to my heart because it all looks like our lineage and we all look a lot alike. Everyone told me when I was growing up that I looked a lot like my father. I believe that and it's true. I can see it now. But when I was little, I was like, I don't look like a man. Despite what my mom says, I had to have been a good baby because they end up having my sister 18 months later. And according to my mom, which again, this has to be hearsay, is she was like, you were on your way to potty training and basically didn't have a bottle. And then when Tara came along, you really regressed. And that is true. Because when my sister did come along, I was like, can't you just spank that baby and return it? Which is kind of evil and sociopathic. And again, I'm not going to unpack that right now. We're just getting started. So put a pin in that. We might come back to it. And if you're a therapist, maybe chime in, like, comment, follow, DM below. I don't even know if I'm doing it right, but maybe you can come on the episode and say, ooh, there are signs that you are insane because of those comments that you made when you were 1.5. I do remember I had a Flintstone bottle. It was like pale orange. I loved that Flintstone bottle. And I think my mom even put juice in it, which I know is like a huge no-no today, but ooh, I had that Flintstone bottle. And the minute my sister tried to come in and take my hand-me-downs, I said, no, ma'am, no, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and grab all of those items from you. And they are mine. I was here first. And I feel bad about that now, but I was just 1.5 years. I didn't know what was to come. We did have a very old-timey yellow stroller. It was like a yellow vinyl and the inside laid down as a bed. Very cool. I liked that yellow stroller, but I think it never collapsed or never... Anyways, my parents were kind of just winging it with 2 kids. And I feel really bad that their first one was me because I don't think my mom was hard on her parents. I do think my dad got what was coming to him. And because my mom was along for the ride, she had to like reap what my dad had sowed to his parents or his mom. So then I just started working this personality that I was born with. I think I got my first record, and that was like a Virgin Madonna. Again, my parents were a little unconventional, if you will. You know, who buys their 4-year-old the Madonna record? But I remember having that, and it was like one of my core memories. And I think me and my sister had a good time. I don't think I was like super fond of her until maybe 4 years into the gig of having a little sister. And then it was a bumpy road until we got into adulthood. And now I couldn't imagine life without her or any of my siblings. Shout out Margot and Brad. And we'll get to the second set of siblings later down the road. But I mean, huge thanks to my mom for coming on the show. This was a quick episode just because I wanted to say I have 2 podcast episodes under my belt. Holla. And we had our first guest. Guys, we are making headway. I just can't imagine what I'm going to do tomorrow when I sit here and record another episode 17, 18 million times, forget what I'm saying, think I added something in, think I didn't add something in. The lawn people come, someone rings the doorbell, dogs barking, trash people. I mean, it's a lot. I have to kind of pick up, and that's why it might kind of sound choppy. But again, we've got to start somewhere. And what is the quote that I said at the beginning? You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So let's journey on to greatness. Should I play the canned box music in the outro? And just think, just as a reminder, if you send me a little Benjamin Franklin's, I could be shouting you out right now. We could be talking about your business. I could put your logo in my pool. As a reminder, I think that you should really take advantage of this because even if it's 5 listeners, I promise you, it's probably in your target demographic. No matter what you're selling, I promise you, let's just try it. Let me try at least making an advertisement for you. And I can even say, I have a brand deal for my brand deal. I don't care if it's like Lila's homemade candles. I will represent your brand with my heart, soul, and every fiber of my being if you encourage me and help me in this journey to just podcast my life away and tell you about my mom's vajayjay pics that are in my room at home still to this day with a lot of other things. And again, we're going to go down that road. We're going to go down that journey. There are a lot of things in that childhood bedroom that we are going to unpack and uncover. So thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2. Again, I want you to come back for every single episode because I'm probably talking about you. So you should definitely tune in. You should sponsor me. Tim E., if you have my website, let's get that wrapped up and rock and rolling. And I will see you back here for episode 3. I'm putting it into the universe. We're going to start with some core childhood memories. I am going to tell you everything about kindergarten, okay? Ramona Quimby style, or Junie B. Jones. Who is it? I think it's Junie B. Jones. We do Ramona Quimby, right? She's in 4th grade. I don't know. I can't keep them straight, but I'm feeling like those childhood series heroes. And that's when I told you in the last episode, like me writing my book, like sometimes I'm Junie B. Jones, sometimes I'm Joan Didion. I can't make the decision, but with these mini podcasts, just doing little slivers here and there, we can kind of get with a vibe and then stick to that. So special thanks to my mom again for coming on the show. Thank you guys so much for listening and going on this journey with me. We're about to get wild, y'all. If you just think the tip of the bush is the start of it all, you're not wrong, because we've got more stories even crazier than that one. Okay, thanks so much, and I will see you next time. Let's do the little outro dingle. Okay, I got to figure out. Oh, yeah. Just think, you could put your name here. This episode was brought to you by Lila's Candles. If that's a business, I'm sorry, but you now owe me money, so I can keep doing this. Claire Bear was brought to you by Claire. Produced, edited, directed, written by your host, Claire O'Malley. I don't know, should I be an announcer or something? Thank you all so much again. I'll talk to y'all next time.